All right, so I'm Mark Barrera from TrustRadius, and we're talking to people who have used TrustRadius to buy business software to learn more about the ups and downs of that buying experience. So we're just looking for the honest feedback about your usage of TrustRadius and the software purchasing process in general. So that being said, my first question for you today, can you briefly describe your role in your company?
Yes, I am the human resources coordinator for a nonprofit company. Um, I have been here only for about 7 months now, but I've taken on a lot of scheduling of different meetings and events, and I've also taken on onboarding, benefits, things like that. I do payroll, so I'm constantly looking for software to ease my responsibilities somewhat because there's a lot of balls in the air and I'm juggling them all the time.
Awesome. And then how long have you been using TrustRadius to help make your software purchasing decisions?
I think that I've used it for a couple of years, just not, I've never, um, every time I Google, like I'm looking for a meeting software or something like that, TrustRadius is usually what pops up first. And so I know I've read reviews before, even when I was just looking, not planning to buy things. Um, so yeah, a couple
Okay,
years, I guess.
awesome, perfect.
Yeah.
And then when you are making a software purchase decision, what is the typical size of a buying committee? Are there multiple people participating in that? Or can you tell me more about that?
It usually depends on what kind of software we're buying. If I'm looking for something for payroll, it would involve myself, our senior accountant, and our director of finance, and my boss, who is the director of people and culture, just because she's my boss and she has the credit card. Um, so that would be in that instance. But for my most recent software purchase, I had to ask the development team, the marketing team, all of the teams. So it was about 10 people, just because I wanted to make sure it was okay with them for me to use it for scheduling them.
Okay, perfect. And then when you are using TrustRadius, what's your typical use case? Are you using it to discover new software, or do you already have a short list and you're comparing options or looking to weed things off of that? Or what's kind of the use case of TrustRadius in that process for you?
Most recently, we've been thinking about switching our HRIS and payroll system to a new software. So I was looking at the one that we have, and then I was comparing it. I love that feature. I was comparing it to others that are like it, um, and then I discovered like two brand new companies I've never heard of. So I think it's a mixture of all of those things. When I'm reading reviews, I'm usually on TrustRadius to find a specific software. But sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't know that existed, because it pops up um, as a comparison. So I kind of use it for both, and I do try to weed out other companies that would not work for us, software platforms that would not work for us.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And then can you describe a time when information from TrustRadius directly influenced a software purchasing decision?
Yeah, my most recent one, we were looking for um, something that would allow us to, we schedule a lot of meetings. Still are doing Zoom interviews for first first line interviews for all positions. And we're always hiring. Um, and uh, I had used various software in graduate school for scheduling, like When is Good, stuff like that. And I knew about, can I say the company name? I knew about Calendly. Um, I've used it before, but I've only used the free version. And I was seeing that we needed more than the free version. And I wanted to make sure that was the best option for us, for what we wanted to do. So I went on to TrustRadius and I looked at Calendly and something I've used the paid version of before. It was When is Good or something like that, or Doodle polls. And I looked at all the reviews and I decided on Calendly because almost everyone knows how to use it. It's very user friendly, and I found that it was worth the price. So I convinced the team of 10 people to let me purchase it.
So in that scenario or other scenarios too, how influential would you say the content from TrustRadius was in making that decision? Was it a must-have, nice to have, or kind of what role did TrustRadius play in making that decision for you?
It was a nice to have because I already had like, it was easy for me to weed out certain things that weren't as user friendly because we're hiring for a bunch of different positions, um, anywhere from housekeepers to director level. So everyone needs to be able to use it on any device, the software that I was going to choose. So it was nice to have because then I could look at all of the reviews and I can see, oh, so many people said this wasn't user friendly or confusing, and so many people said this was great and very easy, and so it was very good for me to see that. I weeded out a bunch of companies that way and decided on
Awesome.
Calendly. Yeah.
Perfect. And then what other platforms like TrustRadius have you used, and how would you say it compares to other review sites?
I think I've used I think there's something. I mean, I've looked at reviews on like what are they, like CNET tech reviews, stuff like that. I've looked on those types of sites or blogs for like HR bloggers that people work in my industry. Nonprofit. I've asked other nonprofit uh, people who are in my position what they use, but nothing as comprehensive as TrustRadius. And like I said, when I Google a software, it usually comes up like, say, I Google Calendly reviews. TrustRadius would be like the first thing that pops up in the Google results. So
Awesome.
I usually go there first.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then does the quality of content make a difference to you, or do you just rely on the product scores, or what else do you use to kind of determine whether a product will be a good fit for your organization based on what's offered on TrustRadius?
I look at the pros and cons mostly. I don't really pay attention to the star reviews or the numerical, like, you know, 9 out of 10 or whatever. I think you're out of the five. So anyway, I don't remember. I look at the reviews from real people first, like, because that's, important to me. Because I know that TrustRadius isn't gonna. I see a mixture of what it should be: negative, mediocre, and positive reviews. So I
Okay.
trust it. If that's not
Awesome.
redundant.
No, no, we put trust in the name for a reason. We want people to have that feeling, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so TrustRadius does have different awards that we give to different products, our top rated, our best of, and other things. Do these awards factor into your decision? Or are these kind of ignored by you similar to the scores, or how do you feel about those if you're even aware of them?
I find them interesting because, but I don't know if I've ever like clicked on it to discover more, like what the parameters are winning that award. I mean, some of them are more straightforward, like best of 2022 or whatever, which makes sense. A bunch of people must have voted on that being the best software of that year. Some of them I'm like, okay. I don't really, like I said, the most important information for me is the compare and contrast of different companies, different software platforms, and the reviews from real people.
Awesome. And then you've mentioned pros and cons and some of the different features you use on TrustRadius. Not sure if you're aware, we also now feature security profiles to understand the security posture of products. We have videos, demos, interactive demos, even starting to do free trials on our site. Are things like that important to you, or what are the other features that really matter to you in making that software decision?
Yeah, I noticed the demos, and I think that's and the direct links to schedule demos if you don't have like an interactive component on TrustRadius. But I love that because I can see what it looks like, and I can see for me personally if it's going to be something I need to look more into, or if I want to schedule a demo with them, or if it's just not going to work for us pretty instantly. Yeah.
Awesome. And then are there any examples you can provide on how TrustRadius may have helped you avoid a potentially poor software purchase?
Other than like the scheduling software, yeah, I think that the When is Good, I think it is, or God, I can't remember what it's called. The Doodle Poll. Doodle Poll costs the same as Calendly and is not user friendly at all. It's it's like a big grid of times, and people get confused. They have to vote on the times, and then it's, what if you have a three-way tie, and it's just not, it doesn't work. I can look at a calendar and do that myself and put the times into Calendly and have it sync with Calendly. So yeah, it avoided us buying a license for something that just was confusing for most people.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So then, are there any examples of areas where TrustRadius has room for improvement, or any features or things, content that you feel could be added to help you better make software purchasing decisions?
I don't know if do you have definitions on those awards at all?
We
Like
do.
when you, okay,
They're there. You
I
have
should
to,
look
to your
closer.
point, kind of find it and click and go to it. It's available, but maybe
Okay,
not as visible as it sounds like maybe
right.
needed.
So I'm thinking that would help. You
Okay.
know, that was easier to. I mean, I guess it's easy to find, but I just kind of skipped over it and went right to the reviews. That's always what I do. And no, I don't think there's anything else other than that.
Okay.
Hmm.
And then when using TrustRadius to make a software purchase decision, do you feel like it helps your overall satisfaction in making that decision?
Yes, I feel much more comfortable because we are a nonprofit and every penny has to be counted, and we can't be wasting money on software that we don't use or we don't use the full functionality of it. So it's very important for me to have confidence in what I'm buying. We're all going to be able to use and it's going to work for what we need it to do.
Awesome. And then putting TrustRadius aside, are there any trends, good or bad, or anything that you see when making a purchase decision or interacting with vendors that you enjoy, or things that you think should change in that process?
No, not really. I can't think of anything. I mean, it's standard, you do a demo or you get a free trial or you talk to a salesperson. It's, I don't see it changing much at all.
Okay. And to that last point, do you typically talk to the vendors and engage with their sales teams? And if so, how do you feel about that process?
I do. Right now, like I said, we're just like casually browsing for new HRIS and payroll software. Just casually browsing, and it makes a difference if it's a hard push for a sale or if it's someone trying to get to know exactly what you need. I've had a mixture of both, and it reflected the TrustRadius reviews on some of it, which was funny to me.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Well, that's all I had, unless there's any other insights or things you'd like to share with us today.
No, I think that's all I have.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time for sure.
Thank you. It was